Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome here to First Unitarian Society. I'm the Reverend Kelly Clement, one of the ministers here, and on behalf of the Sherman Halstead family, I welcome you here to this sacred and celebratory hour. We are gathered to mourn the death and celebrate the life of Kim Sherman, wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend, lover of life. In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, we begin our ceremony by lighting a chalice. Longtime family friend Anne Landgard, and a member of this congregation, will light the chalice as I share these words of Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by the spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Thank you, Anne. What helps when you are living with grief, loss, and great change? The Reverend Kate Tucker, a Unitarian Universalist minister, answers this way. When you are living with grief and loss and great change, it helps to expect that you will be surprised. No one exactly like you has ever experienced a loss exactly like yours. Your inner clock, your inner landscape, your intimate story is yours and no one else's. It helps to understand that this will take you on an unpredictable journey, and that this change is a thing that happens in your body, not just in your soul. It helps to know that your feelings can be complex and multiple. Sorrow and relief, love and anger, despair and hope can live together and yo-yo in astonishing ways. It helps when you can welcome all these feelings and show hospitality, ask them all to tea. It helps to give sorrow words, to tell your heart to those who know how to listen and love you, and the ones who don't mind at all when you repeat yourself over and over and over again. It helps to recognize that though your loved one dies, your relationship does not. It changes, it flows, it grows, it distills. This relationship lives. It helps to remember that there are things you will never know, that you will never figure out or reason your way to. You will never know what it was like for Kim to live her life from the inside. This is a holy secret and a sacred mystery. It helps to remember that beauty does not die. It helps to know that when grief comes, it comes as a teacher. It shows us what we fear and what we love and what we hold true. It tells us, if we listen, 100 ways to honor our loved one. It teaches us how we wish to live our days. We stand before the mystery of life and death with hearts tender and knees weak. So let us tell Kim's story today and in the years to come, in the days and years to come, that we may know and be inspired by what is possible in a life so well lived, where love was given and received so freely. The old nursery rhyme says that Friday's child is loving and giving. That was certainly true of Kimberly Ann Sherman, born on Friday, January 1st of 1963. The oldest child of Barbara and Tom Sherman, followed later by siblings Christine and James, Chris and Jim. She grew up in the Bryn Mawr neighborhood of Minneapolis and graduated from Minneapolis West High School in 1978. Ever the overachiever, Kim earned 3 degrees from the University of Minnesota in theater, business, and Spanish. It was her experience of studying abroad in Spain that opened up the world, and the world remained open, and she opened it for her family. She met Jean at the U of M, and they married in 1994 in Gibraltar. They made their home in St. Louis Park, where they raised their family. Isabella was born in 1996, and Creston in 2001. That made their family complete. There was always a project going on in the house, something Kim had figured out a way to do for herself. Kim's career in advertising began in small local ad shops and led to a 25-year career as a senior product portfolio manager with Excel Energy. And Kim was all in wherever she was, at work, in the neighborhood, in her volunteer efforts for Habitat for Humanity and Meals on Wheels, and of course at Bella and Creston's numerous sports and music activities. You'll hear more about Kim's life from family and friends as they share later. In 2004, Kim was diagnosed with a blood disorder, thrombocytis, and began an 18-year relationship with her hematologist at the U of M. During this time, she worked, traveled, parented, and created joy and love and crafts with anyone she could. She got great care with the U of M medical team. She went to the Mayo and finally went down to MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston for a bone marrow transplant. But that was after a family trip to Hawaii in November of last year. She wanted to watch her kids grow up, to get them launched, to celebrate her birthday one more time. As Bella said, she planned the timing down to a T, as was her way. Her brother Jim was a perfect match, and he donated cells on Valentine's Day. What an act of love. The transplant seemed to be working, but then Kim developed a brain bleed, and she had no platelets to help her heal. March was a horrible time of hoping she would improve and finally realizing that she would never have the quality of life that made Kim, Kim. On Tuesday, April 4th, she died in the arms of her family at age 62, beloved beyond measure. Her body was cremated, and at some later date, Jean, Bella, and Creston will make arrangements for the dispersal of her ashes. Those whom we love and lose are never where they were. They are now with us, wherever we are. Let Kim's legacy to us be in the expansive love of family, of keeping friends for our entire lives, and a can-do spirit. May each of us be so fortunate to share this much love in our lives.
Hi everyone. Thank you all so much for coming. It is much appreciated and it's very touching. I am going to be reading a poem by Henry Van Dyke that the nurses gave us in the last few weeks of my mom's life, and it just really touched us. Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, and too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is eternity. Thank you, guys.
It was a motorcycle, a Honda CMT 400 to be exact. In 1985, I had no transportation other than a bus or a bicycle, and a friend informed me of a motorcycle for sale from someone moving to New York, where I had recently lived. I had never ridden or driven a motorcycle, but I thought I'd have a look. The woman moving to New York was Kim, and after a long dinner with our friend, she quickly instructed me on the basics of driving a cycle. And I said, "What, now?" "Yes, of course," she said, and off I went, only to lay down the bike on the first turn, forgetting to let the clutch out. I was hooked on the bike, though, and eventually on its owner. It was a beginning. Kim was a risk taker. She moved to New York, and our long-distance relationship blossomed. We found that the cost of our lengthy long-distance phone calls were the same as a People's Express airline ticket. So back and forth we flew to love and learn about each other in two cities. A year later, she was back to Minneapolis. I remember her driving her dad's Ford Ranger pickup like a sports car. Like everything she did, she drove with a purpose and wanted to have fun doing it. She was always busy, working one or more jobs, rollerblading around the lakes, cooking new recipes, socializing with friends. Her relationship with friends were personal and invested. She didn't waste much time on superficial exchanges. She loved to feel deeply, and I, like so many others, were drawn to her caring and loving nature. She loved surprises, from her or for her. Whether a unique gift or a mischievous prank, she would put her front teeth over her lower lip and smile, a treasured expression for me that signaled her joy. She loved gifting and made a point of spending time and money to find just the right thing. She loved to play softball, and I had mentioned to her I hadn't owned a glove in years. While in New York, she remedied that with a surprise gift of a brand new mitt, and we played catch in Central Park. When Kim wanted a cat, she brought one to my workplace and said he was, quote, on loan for a few hours. And though I was allergic to cats, had little choice but to agree to our first pet that wasn't a fish. I outgrew my allergy, and cats would become part of our life, also a steady comfort for Kim. Our trip to Spain and marriage in Gibraltar continued in the non-traditional fashion that was Kim. The photo of her on the stage here was taken by me at a cafe in a marina shortly after our wedding vows, the precious smile I will continue to cherish. Her beauty remained unchanged through all her years, recognized easily on the street by childhood acquaintances. And we had two amazing kids. Kim's focus and love with them revealed an amazing parent. She made sure we offered them every opportunity available: athletics, arts, crafts, academics, travel, foreign language, relationships with friends. She loved to be involved with people, taking on the role of matchmaker, headhunter, career advisor, marriage counselor, personal trainer, life coach, or marketing advisor whenever she sensed a need. She was passionate about improving anything she envisioned and learned to eventually balance these efforts by a motto: it's better than it was. Our home was a focal point. She had a collection of power tools, cookware, home, lawn and garden accessories, handmade and distinct decorations for every holiday that rivaled anyone's. She used them all, baking something on the spur of any moment, creating or fixing or building or painting, sharing her home with friends and family. She had a discerning discipline with food and exercise. Though her proclaimed favorite pizza was Punch Pizza, each time we went there, she ordered only the salad because it was good and healthier. She boasted rollerblading in every month of the year one season in Minnesota, a goal she was proud of completing. Sharing a life with such a partner as Kim for almost 38 years, 29 married, is a true blessing and inspiration for me. The physical absence, an unfillable void. Early in our time together, we would own 4 motorcycles, trading up every few years before we sold the one in the 90s for a minivan when familyhood began. It was in my 50s I began renting cycles on my birthday most years, and before long Kim said I needed to buy one. She searched, found the perfect one, and gifted it to me for my birthday. Only last year did she say I was due for an upgrade, so we found a shiny red bike, her favorite color, and she'll continue to be riding with me forever.
Hi, everybody. My name is Isabella Jean Halstead, and I'm the daughter of Kim Sherman. My mom was the best person to have in your corner. It was so nice to know that if I had any problem, I had parents to help me every step of the way. She made life easy, and she gave us everything she had and everything she'd experienced. My mom really did have such a full life. She played softball, taught herself how to ski and skate, owned multiple motorcycles, was the best cook and baker, a bilingual Spanish speaker, artist, gardener, singer, actress, and seasoned traveler. She made sure my dad, brother, and I got all those same experiences in life too. When I was in first grade, she fought tooth and nail to get me into Park Spanish Immersion Elementary School to give me more opportunities and learn Spanish, just like she did. She knew how important it was to be immersed in different cultures and languages. Throughout middle school and high school, she pushed me to try every extracurricular activity. I was in basketball, softball, soccer, skiing, piano lessons, and even in one high school play. She was there for every game, every performance, and every tournament. And through activities came friends. She was the best mom to them too. It didn't matter who walked through our door, she extended her love to all of mine and Creston's friends and made our house a home to everybody. She would come home after work to find that she would need to feed 10 kids between Creston and my friends, but she would whip something up, no problem. She really made our house the best hangout spot. As I got older, I was accepted into the University of Minnesota, and she was so proud of me. And later, my brother also ended up going there too. She would have been proud of us for getting into any college, but the U was special because she went there too. And as my dad would quote Tommy Lee Jones from the movie The Fugitive, we got a gopher. After graduating college, my mom and dad got me one of the best gifts, a motorcycle class that focused on safety. And at the end, I could take the test, which I ended up passing. I knew I was going to get my motorcycle license from a very young age, because yet again, I wanted to be just like them. She made sure that we also got to see the world too. We swam in cenotes in Mexico, rode Vespas across wine country in Italy, saw grizzly bears in Alaska, hiked huge red rocks in Arizona, and on our last trip, I even convinced her to go shark cage diving. There's no doubt that she was an adventurer. My mom and I had a knack for experiencing some cool situations. One time we were snorkeling in Islas Mujeres, Mexico, and all of a sudden a huge stingray swam underneath us, probably more than 1 meter long. This was right after the crocodile hunter Steve Irwin passed away from a giant stingray. We both looked at each other through our goggles, and I could tell we were both thinking the same thing, and at the same time, we booked it back for the shoreline. That same trip, we were parasailing, and in the air, we see a huge dark shadow heading towards the boat. No one else noticed, so we did what any sane person would do: start screaming. Once everyone in the boat saw the dark shadow, they yelled up that it was a friendly whale shark and said that we could dip our toes in the water on the way back down, which we politely declined. One of my favorite stories that sticks out to me is when we took a trip to Florida. One thing about my mom is that if one of her kids needed something, she was going to make sure that that would happen. The plane was just taking off, and I really had to use the bathroom. And even though I thought we shouldn't get out of our seats because the seatbelt sign was on, she insisted that we could. We both got up and headed towards the back of the plane, and as we made our way back, brutal turbulence started, and then the flight attendant screamed, "Get down on the ground!" My mom and I clung together and quickly sat down in the aisle, and when the turbulence stopped, everyone on the plane was staring at us, so we proceeded to burst out laughing from embarrassment. After that, I did get to use the bathroom. But it's the simple things that I'll miss the most, like doing chores and running errands with her. Some of our favorite things to do were taking trips to Costco, Target, and getting craft supplies from Michael's. She always helped me fold my laundry and helped me do dishes too, and we always had the best time doing these seemingly mundane tasks. We rarely express gratitude for someone that we love, but my mom always made sure I knew how much she loved me. She would frequently tell me that I'm a symbol of kindness, perseverance, and beauty, and that I should be strong, dream big, and love myself. So I promise to do exactly that: be strong, dream big, and love myself. It is impossible to say goodbye to someone who has loved you your entire life, but I know if love could have saved her, she would have lived forever. Thank you.
I met Kim, then Jean, nearly 40 years ago when I came to the U from New York to start grad school. They met each other the next spring when Kim told me she wanted to sell a motorcycle and Gene told me he wanted to buy one, and they came to my house for the test drive. He bought the bike, and we hung out together as friends once or twice. When I started a summer job waiting tables at Chic,'s, a downtown bar and restaurant with an after-hours club downstairs, they proposed, just for fun, to come in for dinner when I'd be working. So it wasn't a date. Until it was. They made such a movie star gorgeous couple that the instant they walked through the door, the whole room just stopped. It was like they had a spotlight on them. And I thought, oh. And my boss rushed over and whispered, "Are these your friends? Tell them they're comped to the club." The rest, as they say, is history. But I'll admit to a little pride at the life I watched Kim and Gene create. And, having not seen them since they were kids, the strong, thoughtful, loving people I found in Bella and Creston this spring, even at the most difficult time of their young lives. Others have talked about how Kim changed their lives. Early on, she changed mine when she nailed me in just a few sentences. "You're always there when someone needs you, but you never seem to need anyone. That's not friendship. Friends need you to need them too." Through the next decade, she proved that to me over and over. Gene did too, and the many other friends I've made and kept, because Kim was brave and loving enough to shine a light on something I needed to see. Most college buddies lose touch after graduation, becoming pleasant memories. Some get married and build lives together. A few find themselves lifelong friends despite time or distance. Even if years go by between visits or even phone calls, they're people you can count on when it counts. Kim Sherman made my life richer. I was blessed to have her as a friend.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Townsend. I met Kim Sherman in 1985 in New York City when she was 24 and I was 26. Who you just heard was Roxanne Ricks, who was a dear friend of mine from New York City, who had come to Minneapolis to study and become close friends with Kim. And she let me know that Kim Sherman was going to be coming to New York City to see if she wanted to move there and pursue an acting career. And she informed me in no uncertain words, "You got to take care of this woman, this bright-eyed Minnesotan." But I'll tell you, the first time I looked into those brilliant, intense, intelligent blue eyes, I knew you are a kindred spirit, a fellow traveler, an adventurer, and so it was. One of the things we loved to do was to walk arm in arm for miles in New York City and talk, and we would stop at one of our favorite dessert destinations. And our favorite one was Curtain Up in Hell's Kitchen, when it was Hell's Kitchen, Midtown Manhattan. And we would have the most delicious sour cream apple pie with walnut crumble topping. Oh, we had a lot of that, and we loved it. Another thing that was just so much fun, she was subletting an apartment, and she needed a mattress. So someone she knew had a full-size mattress for her, but there was no way for her to get it there. It wouldn't fit in a cab, and we couldn't walk 20 blocks with a mattress. So, of course, we took it down into the subway. Now, you can just imagine the looks and the comments that we got. I mean, we were pretty beautiful girls back then, let me tell you. And it was just so funny. And people thought we had a mattress and that was our business and we just traveled with it. So of course, Kim being an adventurer, she says, oh, have mattress, we'll travel. Oh God, it was so fun for the year and a half that she was there. But Kim lived a conscious life. She knew who she was. And after a year and a half in New York City, she said, no, this isn't the future I want. It was a great adventure, but it wasn't the future I want. She wanted to go home and start a life with her beloved Jean. And she did. And the two of them created this beautiful family, Bella and Creston, and her wonderful life. Kim was practical, logical, observant, loving, and there to lift you up. And how many times did she lift me up with her wisdom? Many times over the years, I could go into them, but the most recent one was in 2019. She came to visit me in St. Louis, and my husband had just accepted a job in a university in Oklahoma. Oklahoma. The tornado capital of planet Earth. Look it up in Wikipedia. I've been afraid of tornadoes in my entire life, and oh my God, I was so scared and so angry. And she sat very comfortably listening to me and observing me and looking at me with these loving, brilliant eyes. And she did what she always did. She got curious about how I could perceive it differently. And so she suggested, I wonder what it's like in Oklahoma. What it's like to see across those horizons where there's mostly cows and horses grazing. Of course, she knows I love cows and horses. So there's all that. And I wonder what it's like when those storms come through and it's so powerful. And I wonder what it's like to live amongst indigenous people. I wonder what it's like. And so she made me curious, and I just felt my heart crack open. This contracted, angry Elizabeth said, oh my God, it could be. And so I let myself begin to accept the next step, and I would thank her profusely, and she'd always look at me like, what? I didn't do that. You did that. Yes. And of course she was right. I have found wonderful people. I love the terrain. I'm still really very frightened of tornadoes, but But she knew how to do that in such a kind and loving way that she could just help you move out of a state of consciousness into another state, to expand and to live and be present in your life, because that was Kim. She was present. She still is. I feel her. I know she is. And I have to say how very, very grateful I am that I got to be in Houston with her, that I got to hold the ground with Jean and Creston and Bella, who didn't get to be there when Krista was there, and Roxanne. Oh my God, what a time that we were birthing. We were birthing together, and Kim was birthing, and she was so brave, so courageous, so connected. And I told her, and she heard me, because she knew I was there. And I told her one time when she was really hearing me, I said, Creston and Bella have an Aunt Elizabeth and an Aunt Roxanne, and Jean has 2 more sisters. You stuck with me? And so I just want to say, Kim, oh, my beloved Kim, I am eternally grateful for you, for the journey, for my fellow adventurer, for our travels. And I feel you, and I know how you would sift through the junk and find the gem. You always did that. You did that all your life. You created the gem, sometimes out of nothing. And in the end, you sifted through that junk And you found the gem, and the gem is the light and the love that you are, and that you bring to everyone who has ever known you. And that light and that love lives. I'm telling you, it lives forever. And so it is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jean Hammer. Kim and I were co-workers for years and years at Xcel Energy, and we were good friends. First, I'd like to thank Kim's family for the chance to speak today at her memorial. I share these comments on behalf of not only myself, but on behalf of her numerous friends at Xcel Energy, many in the room today. And we all came to respect and rely on her for her knowledge, her creativity for many years. She was a critical member of our team, and she was a much loved member of our team. Kim was the best listener. One of the traits that I loved most about her. I reached out to other friends of Kim at Xcel Energy and asked for one-word descriptions, and that was fairly impossible. Not easily done, they said. But this is how they talked about her, and it really is no surprise. Kim was always a clear and strong communicator. She was an excellent teacher and mentor. She was loyal, you knew that she had your back, and she always offered to help. Her friends would also tell you that she was so very smart. She was strategic. She was an exceptional problem solver. She was a quiet force on the floor, and she was gracious. Kim was gracious in a way that was always kind and considerate and caring. She was everything that we needed her to be. She had heart, and she was the unique combination between technical aptitude and artistic soul. We relied on her on so many ways. She once walked over to my cube and said, "You know, I'm not really doing my job so much anymore as I am answering people's questions all day and helping others." And she said, I'm wondering when that happened. And my response was, well, you and I have been here longer than some of these people. Our start dates were earlier than their birth dates. So we've been here a long time. So that's part of it. But, we had a good laugh, and she said, we both agreed that we liked being in that position. We liked being needed. We liked being appreciated. And it does happen in anyone's career. At some certain point, you end up being the go-to person. Kim was humble about her knowledge and her experience. I often found myself telling other people, I don't have the answer to your question, but Kim Sherman probably does. So go find Kim, and if she doesn't know, she'll figure it out. And I'm sure that she appreciated all that increased traffic. And I was not the only one doing that. So Kim often had a line outside of her workspace. Kim was all business at work, usually. Once in a while, she stepped out of character, and she would throw us for a loop. One day we were standing in the hallway, she and I and a few engineers, talking about the problem du jour, I don't remember what it was, trying to solve something, and somebody asked Kim, what do you think we should do? And Kim said, well, I'd like to walk out of this building, hop on Bruce Borner's new motorcycle, and not come back. So she immediately changed the mood. We all had a good laugh, and she likely solved the problem by the end of the day. She was an excellent problem solver, and she loved that part of her job. She talked about that often. Kim was also very strategic, and wow, was she patient. No one was more patient than Kim on those countless hours-long teleconferences. Sometimes they were so lengthy that people would clap when she hung up. And during those calls, you would hear her making sure she was getting her point across, and it was usually critical to the issue. And at the same time, she was educating others, and she took that role seriously. How do we know all of this about Kim? Many people in this room have sat within earshot of each other for years, some of us decades. And friendships, very strong friendships, are born out of this proximity. The walls are thin. Kim and I were always within shouting distance from each other. My friendship with Kim grew especially close in the years prior to my retirement. And much of this stemmed from not just our work, but also our lives as women and female leaders and mothers. Kim and I did not always agree on everything at work. This is sometimes what makes you good work partners. I have a shining example of this. So Kim worked on a team for about at least a year to develop a program called the Home Energy Squad. And then it was time to launch the program and hand it over to someone, and Kim decided I would be the best person for that program. I didn't want the program. I was mad, and I told her so. The kind of mad where you put your hands on your hips and you go over and say, I'd like to talk to you. I argued my case, and Kim was just her classic self. This is a great opportunity for you. You need to learn how to manage a program like this. I'm sure that you will like the program. And I'm standing there thinking, okay. But at the end, she said, I know you well enough to know that you are going to love this program, and I need you to trust me. So I did. And she was, of course, 100% right. I was entirely wrong. I ended up loving the program that she had developed. And during those 10 years, the best part was during those 10 years, once in a while, Kim would stop over and say, remember when you didn't want to take the program? And I would say, yes, Kim, I remember. And she would say, you like it now, don't you? And I'd say, yes, I do, and I thank you for this. And, she had full rights to say, I told you so, and she never did. She was just too kind. A weaker person would have let those words come out of their mouth, but she would not do it. So what I say to my friend Kim right now is that I miss her. I will think of her every day. The loss of this friend is significant because we were supposed to grow old together as Xcel Energy retirees. She was going to take me to art museums and make me try new foods, and I was going to make her go hiking and backpacking. I promise her today that I will say her name out loud whenever I'm alone in the forest. It's a favorite place to be. And I know that she will hear me because Kim, my friend, is the best listener.
I'm Jeannie Garys. Kim and I have known each other our whole lives. Kim's mom and my dad were cousins, and our grandmothers were sisters. What a crazy pair those two were. You never knew who was or wasn't talking to the other one from holiday to holiday. But Kim and I never shared that. We loved each other from the time we could remember and always looked forward to our next adventure together. We both had great memories of the time we spent at Bumpa and Maggie's, or playing cards at Aunt Rita and Uncle Jack's. It was always Cousin Kim Sherman and G. Marie. We married about the same time and had our daughters, Gus and Bella, around the same time. And then Kim and Jean added Creston to the trio. And while they all look similar, they couldn't be more different, which always made Kim and I smile, knowing our lives were so much richer with them in it. We didn't get together as often as we would have liked, but we always picked up right where we left off. You always had a best friend in Kim, and you felt it. Kim was an amazing person. Everyone here will have the same wonderful things to say about her. I don't think there was anyone that Kim met that would not agree. She was interesting, funny, thoughtful, caring, and hardworking. She could do anything she set her mind to. I remember when we lived in Minnesota, she wanted to change the tile in her kitchen, and she asked my husband Mark to show her how to do this. He gave her about a 10-minute tutorial on setting and grouting tile, and she was off. That kitchen floor was stunning and more beautiful than any job I'd ever seen. Kim had so many interests and would immerse herself in learning everything she could. In her presence, she made you feel like you were the only thing she had going on. She listened intently, sometimes questioning why you thought the way you did, but never in an offensive or uncomfortable way. She was truly interested in your thoughts. It made conversation lively and thought-provoking. I am truly thankful for having her in my life. She made me want to be a better person, always. I'm going to miss her so much, but I feel some comfort in the thought she will be looking out for me. As my Navy Gus would tell you, Cousin Kim Sherman, fair winds and following seas, dear girl, until we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you all for sharing those lovely stories. In a few moments, as the service comes to an end, first we'll lead Kim's family out, and then you're all invited to come downstairs and join us in the lower assembly hall, which is directly below this room, for a reception for more sharing of stories, for laughter and tears. If you would like to have an elevator, it's just outside this door and to your left as you go out the room. The family thanks all of you for being here to share this celebration of Kim's life, and they extend special gratitude to Anne and Jeff Langard, Victor Mooney, Andrea Corbin of Flower Bar, the Flower Bar Experience of Minneapolis, and the First Unitarian Society for support and assistance during this time. We hold a special place for you, and I invite you all to keep telling Kim's story. We can't tell it in an hour, but keep saying Kim's name and telling her story and telling how much you love her, and say her name to Jean and Bella and Creston, to Mom Barbara, siblings Christine and Jim, and many aunts and uncles and cousins. Tell her story today and in the days and years to come, that we may be reminded of what love and an adventurous spirit can do. It creates this love. Never forget that moment that Kim has taught you so well. Blessed be.
Amen.